Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parirajikacharya Shutarshat Shri Śrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Nantikoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayed. Before reciting Śrimad Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, who is the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. And Nashta Prayashta Badreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance, Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya, in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. Nashta Prayashta Badreshu. And loving service, Bhagavati Utamashloke, unto the personality of Godhead, who is Uttama Shloka, praised with transcendental songs, is Bhavati Naishtaki, established as an irrevocable fact. Sounds pretty good. So maybe all be regular attendants and be considered as Nityam Bhagavat Sevayites. And today's verse, we're reading chapter 29 in the third canto. The third canto is called the Status Quo, and chapter 29 is Explanation of Devotional Service by Lord Kapila. I haven't been here for 3 months, so I don't really know exactly what he's been talking about, but we're on verse 29 today. He's talking about devotional service, I know that. So maybe you guys can give me a refresher, those that have been Nityam Bhagavata Sevayites. Okay, Tatrapi Sparsha Vedibhya. Tatrapi Sparsha Vedibhya. Pavara Rasa Vedinaha. Pavara Rasa Vedinaha. Tebhyo Gandha Vida Shrestас. Tebhyo Gandha Vida Shrestás. Tata Shabda Vido Vadaha. Tata Shabda Vido Vadaha. Tatrapi Sparsha Vedibhya. Pravara Rasa Vedinaha. Tebhyo Gandha Vida Shrestās. Tata Shabda Vido Vadaha. Siddharam. Tatrapi Sparsha Vedibhya. Pravara Rasa Vedinaha. Tebhyo Gandha Vida Shrestās. Tata Shabda Vido Vada. Tatrapi Sparsha Vedibhya. Pravara Rasa Vedinaha. Tebhyo Gandha Vida Shrestās. Tata Shabda Vido Vadaha. Tatrapi Sparsha Vedibhya. pravara rasavedinaha
Tebhyo
Tebhyo gandha vidasheshtas Tata shabda vidovadaha Tatrapi sparshavedibhyaha Prarvara rasavedinaha Tebhyo gandha vidasheshtas Tata shabda vidovadaha tatra among them. Api, moreover, sparsha vedibhyaha, then those perceiving touch, pravadaha, better, rasa vedinaha, those perceiving taste, tebhyaha, then them, gandha vidaha, those perceiving smell, shristaha, better, tataha, than them, shabda vidaha, those perceiving sound, badaha, better. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, those who have developed the sense of taste are better than those who have developed only the sense of touch. Better than them are those who have developed the sense of smell, and better still are those who have developed the sense of hearing. We can do repetition now because it's good to hear. Punya. No, there's like Punya Kirtana. Anyway, yeah, Punya Shravana Kirtana. That just by hearing it's purifying. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, those who have developed the sense of taste are better than those who have developed only the sense of touch. Better than them are those who have developed the sense of smell. And better still are those who have developed the sense of hearing. Purport. Although Westerners accept that Darwin first expounded the doctrine of evolution, the science of anthropology is not new. The development of the evolutionary process was known long before the Bhāgavatam, from the Bhāgavatam, which was written 5,000 years ago. There are records in the statements of Kapila Muni, who was present almost in the beginning of creation. This knowledge has existed since the Vedic time, and all these sequences are disclosed in Vedic literature. The theory of gradual evolution, or anthropology, is not new to the Vedas. It is said here that among the trees, there are also evolutionary processes. Different kinds of trees have touch perception. Is it better than the trees or the fish? Because fish have developed sense of taste. Better than the fish are the bees, who have developed sense of smell. And better than them are the serpents, because serpents have developed the sense of hearing. In the darkness of night, a snake can find its eatables simply by hearing the frog's very pleasant cry. The snake can understand this is the frog, and he captures the frog simply because of its sound vibration. This example is sometimes given for persons who vibrate sounds simply for death. One may have a very nice tongue that can vibrate sounds like the frogs, but that kind of vibration is simply calling death. The best use of the tongue and of the sound vibration is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That will protect one from the hands of cruel death. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripasinubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Gayate Giram Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Oh wow. This looks like I think garland that Jai Gaur made the other day. So, Taptrapi Sparsha Vedyabhyaha Pravara Rasa Vedinaha Tevyo Gandha Vidashrestas Tata Shabda Vidovada. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, those who have developed a sense of taste are better than those who have developed only the sense of touch. Better than them who have developed the sense of smell, and better than those still have developed the sense of hearing. And in this purport, Prabhupada explains how we've got the trees, who they have a sense of touch, and the Mataji that gave in class the other day, talking about the verse where the tree can be growing near a fence, and while it's next to the fence, there's no branches that come out, and then when it goes right above the branch, right above the fence, then the branch can start to come out. And
four leaves pointing in different directions.
Yeah, something like that. And so it sometimes they say trees have sight, or trees, because also if the sun is a certain direction, but actually it's not sight, it would be feeling the heat of the sun's rays. So it would still be touch. At least according to this Prabhupada and Bhāgavatam are saying that the trees have touch, and then better than the trees are the fish because they have taste, better than the fish or the bees who have a sense of smell, better the serpents who have hearing. Oh, but actually maybe all of them have sight. Because they're not excluding sight from any of these, so maybe trees also have sight. We can give them that. Because if the sun is going, if you keep a tree in a dark room in the window, it'll go towards the window. But you could argue either way, but this purport is not declining that. And I've heard Prabhupada say something like trees can also see. Sometimes they also say coconuts see because they have 3 eyes, so they won't fall on you. It's kind of like a joke, but. So these are the different kinds of living entities. I just want to see, can someone answer me the question, why is Kapila Dev talking about all these living entities? Do you remember from the previous classes? I guess looking here, it's saying, yes.
Well, he was talking about devotional service, how to execute, and what makes it pure. And then he was talking about the power of discrimination now.
Okay. Yeah. As a blazing fire of death, I cause great fear to makes the least discrimination between himself and other living entities because of a differential outlook. And you have to realize my own presence in the heart of all other living entities and in the heart of ourselves as well. And then right before these verses, he's saying you should propitiate Krishna or Kapila he's saying me, who abides in all creatures. And now he's describing all these different kinds of creatures. So you have inanimate objects. There's jada, like this Vyasa-san or this thing or this laptop. And then better than that is a living entity, but then a living entity which sometimes Prabhupada said the rocks are another form of living entity. And may sound kind of far out. One way I've understood that is that we see like crystals, like you can go into some caves and like crystals be growing all over the place. They're actually growing. And so in some sense, if something's growing, then it's kind of living. And another argument they say is sometimes if you're a Mayavadi and you're saying, I want to have the realization that I'm just nothing, then a kind of cheeky way that Krishna fulfills that desire is like, okay, be a damn rock for billions of years. And so here we just come a rock, just sitting there. And maybe there's some like little consciousness in that rock. So that may be a type of living entity who does not display any symptoms of life. But living entities who display symptoms of life are better. Like we're talking about here, like a tree. A tree, what are the symptoms? There's 6 symptoms of life. Can we name them off one by one? Raise your hand if you know the first one. Birth, okay, birth. Raise your hand, I said. Okay, growing, that's one. Okay, we got 2. You don't have to give them an order.
Producing offspring.
Producing offspring. Okay, so birth, growing, producing offspring. What else happens? Okay, death. That would be at the end. So we have 4 and we have 2 left. Sitaram, you already gave one, Gopal. Dwindling before the death. Okay, so we have birth, growth, death, dwindling, and offspring. Oh, did I give away one? Parabrahma? Yeah, sometimes you're just constant. Like we all remember when we were like 4 or 5 years old and we couldn't even reach the counter and all our desires were difficult to fulfill. Then we got older and older and we stopped crying as much and we got a little smarter, hopefully, and like got like more taste of the real world. And then now, right, all of us right now are more or less in the period of time where our body's more or less maintaining. Like you're not growing any taller and you're also not getting smaller. You're just staying like kind of the same size. Hopefully you're not growing this way. And then, so you're born, you grow, and then you stay, you maintain yourself, and during that maintenance, you can produce some offspring, then you start to dwindle, and then you die. So that's the 6 symptoms of life, and all those kinds of animals have that. But then, better than just animals who have just life symptoms are developed consciousness, animals with developed consciousness. So like a dog, or like, anyway, you can think of so many different animals, but they have friends, they have relationships, and that's like the start of like developed consciousness. So animals with developed consciousness are better than that, and better still are those who have developed sense perception. That's throwing me off, to be honest. Let's see, what does Prabhupada say? Sense perception. Well, anyways, now we're getting to all the different kinds of sense perception. So it seemed like he's making a ladder going up. And then we go to those who have developed taste or better, then just have sense perception. Those who have touch is better, then smell, then hearing. And Prabhupada's talking about evolution, the first part of the purport, and he's kind of sticking it to the Westerners that they think, oh, Darwin in 1850 or whenever it is went to the Galapagos or whatever island it was and saw different birds that were in different habitats and kind of had this whole epiphany that, oh, maybe when they're having offspring, there's some sort of way that there's something happens and there's different ones that come out, and the ones that come out that are a little more suited to the environment, they'll do better, and if there's any kind of hardships pushed on by nature, then those ones that are better suited to those hardships will end up working out and living, and they're going to produce, they're going to have their period of maintenance be longer, and they're going to be able to produce more offspring, and before they dwindle and die. And so he had this whole epiphany, and then he wrote about it, and then everyone at the same time, it was kind of the end of like the Enlightenment period where people were like really trying to get away from Christianity and religion, because Christian religion at that point had like a vice grip, like just sucking society dry, because it was more or less kaitava dharma. It wasn't really dharma that will actually fulfill and sustain people. Like dharma is that which sustains. So it's also, could mean your like occupation, like whatever you do as a job that you get money to sustain your life. But then also we understand it's like that intrinsic principle in us that is us, and without it, we wouldn't be in existence or in the same way. Like fire, the dharma of fire is heat and light. If you take away heat and light, then whatever you have that you took away heat and light from, you don't have fire anymore. You took all the fire away if you take away all the heat and light. So it's like it's a dharma. Like if it has heat and light in it, then there's some sort of fire there, or like water is like wet, wetness. If it's dry, then it's not water, or it's not liquid. Liquid means wetness, and so due to the kaitava dharma happening and cheating everyone, and in the name of religion doing so many terrible things that you probably know many examples. I don't know if I want to go on a class like that today. There was a rejection of a modern rejection of religion, and so they piggybacked off this idea of Darwin and used it to kind of propound a new scientific-based atheism. But Prabhupada, Paschacharya Chitarne, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharine, Prabhupada's the nice servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he's preaching Gauravani to the Western countries and delivering them, and delivering them from Nirvishesh and Shunyavadi. So atheism is just a type of Nirvisheshvad or Shunyavad. Ultimately, they believe in nothing and random chance, and Prabhupada came to destroy that. And so one of the ways he's destroying that in this purport, saying, the Westerners, you thought you got it in 1850, but try 3,850 BC, or whenever it was, 5,000 years ago, when Vyasadeva already wrote about it. And there's many verses in the Bhāgavatam explaining so many things about anthropology, about, let's see what the definition of anthropology is. Anthropology, the study of human societies and cultures in their development. The study of human biological and physiological characteristics and their evolution. So the Bhāgavatam has the full, and we're pretty much reading it now, where the Sarga and Visarga, Lord Krishna, and he expanded himself and looked at Maya Devi, and Maya Devi started agitating the Pradhan, and everything started to come out, and the world started getting created, and then they needed people to help manage it. So out of the navel comes Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma is meditating, and then he has these Manasaputras, his mind-born sons, and they all become, besides Narad Muni and the four Kumars, they all start to become progenitors, and they have sons and daughters, and those sons and daughters then also end up creating all of the different species. And so that's our version. Or not our version, that's Vyasadev's version of evolution. And they explained how the progenitors and the demigods, they live on much different time scales. I didn't even do the calculation for Lord Brahma, but like a human lifespan for Lord Brahma is like not even a second. Like it's just like, tick it, if you like try to do a stopwatch, they're alive, they're dead. You don't even notice. I probably couldn't say it fast enough how quick it is. But even like a minor demigod, a whole lifetime for them, it's just like 3 months. It's like kind of a long time, but it's not that much. We're not even, for us, how long does a dog live? 5 or 10 years, something like that. So for a demigod, we don't even live as much as like our household dog. And so for them, if they're trying to make something, like all the species happen and manage the whole world. The whole reason why Krishna wants them to make species is because everyone's got different desires. And what does Krishna explain that karma is in the Bhagavad Gita? He says karma is that by which you develop a material body. So you have some desire that you want to do something. I just want to sleep so long and have a good, like nice sleep. There's a lot of bodies that are good for that. Okay, you become a bear and during the winter, you just go to sleep mode for like 3 or 4 months. You're just sleeping most of the time, just chilling out in your cave, and you can get real fat and you just sleep. You don't need to eat, you don't barely need to do anything. And then by the time the winter's over, you're skinny again and you're ready to go and you got a good nap. So if you want to like have nap bhav, you can become a bear. And you know, there's all kinds of different weird desires that you can have, and there's some animal that will help you fulfill that desire. There's 8,400,000 different, you know, things you can get inside, and then even with the 8,400,000, there's unlimited varieties within that. I mean, we're all like, I think we're all the same species according to the Vedas. Like there's like demigod would be a different species, and then, you know, Lord Brahma, he makes all these different, you know, there's 400,000 human species. But even though we're all some type of human, there's so much variety in our different experiences. You could just spend millions of lifetimes in human bodies trying to get different experiences based on your desires. What to speak of 8,400,000 different species. And so to fulfill those desires, those bodies have to be created. And to make those bodies created, Krishna needs someone to do it. So he gets Daksha and all these other progenitors to do it. And so he's saying this is how it's actually done. The Vyasadeva, through his samadhi, he actually knows what's happening and he's explaining how it's done. Whereas, you know, Darwin in his samadhi, he's like getting much less information. It's a facsimile of what Vyasadeva is getting, but it's just very dwindled, and then it's being perverted and cheated more by the modern people. And you know, one hurdle that most modern scientists, not hurdle, but one thing they can't explain via their atheistic evolution, which evolution doesn't have to be atheistic, like Prabhupada is saying, it can be coming from the Vedas, it can be Vedic evolution, which is what Prabhupada wants to try to deliver to us. But he was heavy against Darwin and heavy against evolution because of this atheistic tinge. Not because of the evolution, but because of the atheism. So you have atheism and evolution, and they can be mutually exclusive, although the atheist can use evolution and pervert it and cheat the people. And so one of the ways where the Bhāgavatam shows us the light that we can confirm pratyakshavagamam dharmyam, or you know, use our anuman, our logic to confirm. You know, Bhagavad Purana is the Amala Pramanam. Amala Purana. It's the spotless. What's the?
Pramanam Amalam.
Yeah, Pramanam Amalam. Yeah, so those are two tongue twisters. It's the Amala Purana and the Pramanam
Amalam.
Amalam. Yeah, Amalam. No mistake in it. And so, in the Purana, in there did Sati go to the party yet and kill herself?
That's fourth canto.
Okay, that's fourth canto. Okay, yeah, right. So we'll get there. And what ends up happening is Daksha, he's a progenitor, a demigod that's in charge of making like an X number of these 8,400,000 species. He's got to somehow make it happen. And in his offense to Lord Shiva, he ends up retiring early, getting his head chopped off, and realizing that he was the guy to help engineer the universe. They're like, all right, we got to put him back on track. Come on. And they're like, okay, fine. Just find anyone whose head that has the same exact horoscope as him. So they somehow found some deer or something like that, goat. So they found a goat that had his same birth time. So they got the goat, chopped the head off, did some interesting surgery that no one could perform today, and then Daksha came back. So, and when he came back, then he started his work again, which his work is to create more population. And so, if, you know, one thing that's nice, although Shabda Pramanam is, it doesn't need shelter of any other Pramanam. We have three main Pramans. People know what Praman mean? Pramanam means the way that you gain in knowledge. So you have our senses, we have our logic, and we have what we can hear from others. Those are the three ways to gain knowledge. And you can subdivide those into different categories, but those are like the three divisions. So obviously our senses are not very good. I can't even see what's outside this room, so how could I tell you very much about the universe and the nature of reality? Our logic also can be, logic, it's said that it can never really, by itself, like establish the truth, because any more successful logician can just come in and twist the logic and break it. Whereas those two are, they're called pratyaksha, which means sense perception, and anuman, which means inference or logic. And then there's the descending process of hearing. If I want to know everything about you, Connor, I can hire Hansarupa as the private guest investigator, and he can track you down and try to learn it. But I can just ask you and become your friend, and you can tell me, so hearing from your own mouth everything about you, and if I trust you that you're not lying to me, then I can actually get the most information. So Shabda is the best way, and of that, there's Shabda just coming from regular sources, and there's Shabda coming from transcendental sources. So the Bhagavad Purana, do we think it's coming from a regular source or a transcendental source? Yeah, it's coming from a source beyond men. What is that called? Aparushaya. Aparushaya Shabda. So it's not, we don't have the Vyasadeva does not have the defects that we have. His sense perception is not defective. He can literally see everything. And his logic is also completely perfect. He can establish the perfect conclusion with his logic. And so when he's telling us something, it's like we're really getting it. It's really nice. And there's all this, like there's this common thing, if you look in the New Age part of the library or the bookstore, there's all these people that do like transmissions, or like, what is it called? Like Edgar Casey and different people where they're being like via medium for some like spirits. Channeling, exactly. So channeling is kind of like you're getting some sort of shabda, but you can't really, like if some ghost, like ghosts are one of the living entities. You can have a ghost body, and you can channel a ghost and they can tell you to tell stuff, and like you're hearing someone say something and you're repeating it, but a ghost can just be playing tricks on you and just saying this, that, and the other thing. So this channeling thing, it's not like, you possibly could get some information, but is it trustworthy? Not really. Whereas Vyasadeva, in his samadhi, he's able to completely see everything and completely describe it to us. So not actually everything is complicated. You can't just trying to describe everything increases everything's complexity, and so. But anyways, it's enough. It's enough that we can get enough. The infinite can reveal itself to the finite by its infinite power, whereas the finite otherwise has no chance to actually discover the infinite through its finite power. And so, where this atheistic evolution fails is what's called the boring billion and the Cambrian explosion. So the boring billion is known as a billion years where there's just nothing happening evolutionary. If you look, like the anthropologists and the excavators and the archaeologists, they find all these different kind of fossils and they see like a gradual evolution. And that's one of the strongest arguments for evolution. And so, but then they notice all across the world, there's just like a time just nothing happens. No new species come. And then there's the Cambrian explosion where all of a sudden on the same layer, in so many different places, T-Rex and Stegosaurus and all these millions of dinosaurs and everything, Cambrian explosion, all this life just starts to come. And so they have no explanation for that. And the Christians, they say, oh, look, this is proof that that the methodology that you think how evolution works is not really actually how it works, and it's made by a higher creator. And they kind of just have this vague idea of like God is doing something. Whereas the Vedas are like, all right, Christians, you're on the right track, but if you hear what Vyasadeva has to say, you can get a nice, better picture. And so Vyasadeva is telling us, so Daksha is creating these living entities, which is basically making evolution happen. Then he's getting his head chopped off. So he stops. And if you can actually look at the date of the different timings of when this is. And when he gets his head chopped off, you have the boring billion. Then finally, when he gets reinstated back to his job, at that time, the Cambrian explosion happens. So that you can see that even 5,000 years ago, Vyasadeva is describing all these things very intimately and like getting the real details. Like even if you have a perfect, if you take every grain of sand and look under it, how are you ever going to find that out? Like what happened with Daksha without someone just like telling you or having a time machine and being able to go back and look? You can't. So, but the statements that were written down by Vyasadeva 5,000 years ago are records of statements of Kapila Dev and others who are there since the beginning of creation. Prabhupada is saying in this purport. So this is actually real knowledge, the Apurusheya Shabda coming down and enlightening us. So therefore, evolution, some devotees say there's no such thing as evolution, and some devotees say there is. And so Prabhupada's also said both things. So my reconciliation with that is that Prabhupada doesn't like the atheistic evolution, and we should go vehemently against that. Like we should try to cut their tongues out with logic. And if we can't, then we should go away and not hear from them. And we should just read Bhāgavatam, and because that can disturb our faith a lot if the atheist makes some point and say, hey, and therefore God doesn't exist. And they're like, oh, it like hurts your heart. So Prabhupada's cutting away those atheists. Nirvishesha shunyavadi pastyatardeshatarine. However, the Bhāgavatam, and even here Prabhupada's admitting, there is a theory of gradual evolution, and most importantly actually Prabhupada stresses is that it's the evolution of the soul. There's the evolution of these bodies, but we don't, I mean, why do you care about the evolution of the bodies? It's said in the Bhagavad Gita, a little bit on this path will save you from the greatest fear. The greatest fear is actually going back to those crappy bodies. I mean, yeah, you could be a bear sleeping for 3 months, but you know how crappy it is to be a bear? I mean, we could not bear it. We were a bear probably. All of us were probably bears at one point, and we didn't want to do that, so through our ardent desire, we got upgraded to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. 8,400,000, or at least 8 million. You go through 8,000,000 species, then you can get to the one of the 400,000 human species. Then finally, we're human now. Oh, thank God. And there's these different kinds of living entities with different levels of sense perception. The trees can only see and touch, and the fish can only taste, see, and touch, and the bees, they can smell, and then the serpents can hear, and then they hear the frog, and they go and eat the frog, and that's a common. The frog is like a common character in different. It's a common character trope in different Vedic stories. Like, of course, we have our frog in the well, which is the scientists that are doing atheistic evolution. They think they can understand everything by their prataksha and anuman, but they can't. And what do you mean I can't understand it? Let me just puff my body up and get better logic and better, put my satellite out there and get all the things better and better computers, and I can understand it. And then it's like, no, you can't understand the transcendental reality. You'll never be able to get to it. What do you mean I'll never be? How big is it? It must be this big. And he makes himself even bigger, and then he ends up getting so big. And the transcendentalist is just like, I'm sorry, you can never understand the pure love of Radha and Krishna just by getting a satellite and doing it. What do you mean I can't understand? It's just something I can understand, and he explodes. So that's the frog in the well. And then there's this story, which is we can read in the Nectar of Instruction. Actually, this whole verse reminded me a lot of the Nectar of Instruction. There's talking in there about Vacho vegam, manasakrodha vegam, jiva vegam, darpasta vegam, ita vegam, yo visheta dira, sarvam apima vritivim sashishat. So we should control different senses, and if you control them, then it's good, and then you can be a guru over everyone. So everyone, you guys want to be a guru over everyone, have that kind of power? I mean, come on, admit it, you do want to a little bit. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the material world. You have some desire to lord it over somehow. So Rupa Goswami is enticing us. If you want to be a guru, then control your senses. And then you can actually be a guru for everyone. And Lord Chaitanya, he also says, take my instructions, become a guru of everyone, and deliver this land. So we can dovetail our lording it over capabilities if we just control our senses and work for Lord Chaitanya and becoming a guru. But in there, so you're going to control your senses. So what senses? Vacho vegam, what you're going to say. Manasa vegam. There's the different things of the mind, which he says one of them is kroda. But there's actually 6, you could analyze it different ways, but there's 6 main agitations that the mind gives, anger including one of them. And then vacho vegam, manasa kroda vegam, jiva vegam. What does jiva mean? It doesn't mean soul. Jiva means soul. Jiva. Yeah. Tongue, yeah. Like there's what band logo? The Rolling Stones. Just a mouth with a big tongue. Come taste, yeah. Oh. You know, that's why everyone wants. Like when we're driving from the airport to Vrindavan or to Mayapur, you'll pass these things and it's like Papu Dab. You know, come like, you know, taste India or something like that. You know, 140% veg taste or pure ghee taste. Yeah, and like so that's everyone has their sense of the urge to taste something. So, and we also have the vacho vegam, the urge to speak. So these 2 things are controlled by the tongue, and if we speak, there's 3 things we can do with speech. You can grab our tongue and say nothing, which is better than speaking the second one, speaking nonsense, which is anything not related to Krishna consciousness, basically, or like anything related to that. If we're speaking anything related to that, then we're wasting our time, and we're just like the frog is or whatever it's making in the nighttime, and the snake can hear it. So the frog is just trying to call out for a mate, do whatever. Who knows why the frog is making the noise? I'm not an anthropologist. And so the frog's making this noise, and the snake comes and eats the frog. So it's just calling out for death. So if we're spending our time not glorifying the Lord, not glorifying the devotees and serving, then we're just wasting our time and we're calling death. And so each day the sun rises and sets is just another day closer to death. What's the Pink Floyd lyric? Anyways, whatever. And so, but if we're glorifying the Lord and doing everything properly, then actually this rising and setting of the sun doesn't do anything because our life is already eternal at that point. It'll get to the point when you die, you'll have the day before you die, and you're going to be doing that. And on the day you die, you're going to be doing that. And on the moment that you die, you're just going to wake up somewhere else and you're going to still be doing that. So it just becomes eternal. It's not taking anything away from you. Whereas everything, if you're not doing that, everything that you do, you're going to, at the point of death, you're going to lose it. You got your PhD, or maybe you did a lot of like nostril alternative breathing, and you got a mystic city, and you could control all kinds of stuff. But at the end of your life, whenever that is, then you're going to lose it all, and you're going to start back from nothing. So literally every rising and setting of the sun is taking away your enjoyment and your possibilities to do whatever you want to do. But if we're serving the Lord, then nothing's really happening. The sun is just setting and rising and setting, and we're just doing the same exact thing we're going to do every day. And so, therefore, this tongue is like a rudder. If you control the tongue and talk about the right things, which means whatever we talk about is actually what we've already heard. So if you're hearing a lot about Krishna, then you're going to only speak about Krishna. But if you're hearing a lot of random nonsense and you're going to go watch a bunch of movies and read all this other stuff that has nothing to do with Krishna, then that's what's going to be going around in your mind, and that's what's going to come out. And so that way that'll take you off course to losing your life. And if you eat what you eat affects your consciousness. So if you only eat Krishna Prasadam, your consciousness is going to be focused on Krishna. If you eat anything else that's not like unofferable foods, or you go to a karmi restaurant or something like that, then you eat karmi grains, you get karmi brains, and you'll get thrown off course. So we don't want to get thrown off course. We have the rudder in our boat, so we go straight and narrow, and we go straight to the destination we want, which is out of all these animalistic birth and death, and into the most consciously evolved pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and of Radha and Krishna. And so that's how we can lead a good life. And Ramai Prabhu and other senior devotees are here, and we've got a few minutes. Maybe they can say something. Ramai wants to hear other people say something first, so maybe Tulsi or Pandava. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, those who develop taste are better than those who have only touch. Better than them have developed smell, and better still, hearing.
scripture saying that whatever we're doing now, this is only preparing us to do bigger service later.
Mm-hmm.
So I often like to meditate on this. Like you said, whatever we're doing now, it's actually preparing us. If we are serious now in Krishna consciousness, we'll just do the same thing later. But Krishna will be there personally.
Yeah, now he's here in the form of the deity, which is his way that we can access him, but then he'll manifest himself even more and more. Through the deity and then eventually through him directly. Deity is directly.
Thank you. I'd love to share you speaking about this pramana and how there are so-called pramanas, but they are not actual pramanas because people who give the pramanas are themselves limited by their mind and senses. So back in the day, in the ancient Greek philosophy, they had a term for this, and this is how partially, this is the reason why in the Western culture this became a sign of dogmatism and undeveloped thinking. So they, whenever in ancient Greece, whenever they were quoting something, they were making a statement which was kind of awkward for the people, and they didn't have actually logical reason. They would just say, well, our master said this. And the master would be Pythagoras or Socrates or one of those guys. So, and this is called ipsi dixit. And this is how the whole idea of...
That's what they put on websites sometimes. Ipsi dixit, like they look put this whole Latin thing. It's just like a copy and paste thing that if you're making a web, anyways. Yeah.
Right. So because of this, the whole idea of descending authority of Shabda became obsolete. People start to weaken it. So it seems one of our tasks now is to explain the proper meaning of Shabda, that this comes from
yeah, exactly.
perfect authority, not from some random guy.
I mean, there is just Shabda, like, I called my friend from China and he told me that there's a big wall there. So I understand from him, to the degree that I trust him, there's a big wall. That has its level of authority. But then it's like, okay, like Vyasadeva had this thing and he told me, like, okay, I trust Vyasadeva way more, like that.
Yes, and I think what to share. I never heard this. I really liked what you said about this. It's kind of brilliant thinking about Daksha being suspended for a while and then this Cambrian explosion, whatever they call it. I never thought about this before. So.
I shouldn't take credit for it. My godbrother Siddha Hari and Madhavendra Puri Prabhu did a lot of research on the Yuga Sandhyas and how they match up with different scientific dates. And they presented a wonderful book called Big Bang and the Sages, which has, if you like that, it has plenty more where that came from. I can send you a copy.
Please do.
You won't be able to put it down. Okay, Ramroy Prabhu, the last word. Just one word. Just say Hare Krishna. You don't even need the mic. Haribo! Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mahaprasade Govinde. Oh.
I wanted to thank you so much for the graphic examples. They really added to the text and conveying the message. Thank you so much.
Dandavats to your Pada Padma.
New Year, bro. The new year in the Harinam.
New Yuga. New Yuga. It's the next Yuga.
Walking 13.